Welcome, my loves, to the School of You podcast, where we discuss sensitive topics and attempt at unloading and unraveling these unresolved traumas together. I will give advice, in my opinion, based on my own experiences and experiences of others in my circle. So, let's start, shall we? So, in today's topic, we are going to talk about a very, very interesting thing that I think a lot of people are going through in big cities. And our topic today is going to be single in Chicago. What does that look like? Like, what is it like to be single in Chicago? Now, remember that I told you guys that one of my podcasts, I was going to have a special guest. You just have to stay tuned. Well, today is that day. I have a very close friend of mine who is a phenomenal educator here in Chicago. And she is a single woman here in Chicago. Would you mind introducing yourself, Ki?
Yes. Hi, I am Kiara. Nice to meet you all and engaging in this discussion with you. I hope y'all having a good day.
Okay, yes, and we are. And we thank you for joining us. So, to be honest with you guys, I'm sitting over here at my friend's house right now, and we just started talking about this topic, and I said, girl, this is a podcast. I said, this is a podcast. And so I decided to turn this recording on, and here we go. It's going to be natural. It's going to be real. It's going to be fun. It's going to be therapeutic. So let's go. Ki, you were stating that it's hard, like people don't understand how hard it is being single, especially in a big city. Because it seems like in a city, you're more closed off, because in the suburbs, like everyone know each other. Mm-hmm. And in the city, it's like your neighbor could be living next to you for like 10 years and you don't even know. I mean, literally. And anybody in big cities know that. And your place is gorgeous. So people walk in, and then you're an educator with wonderful educational background and certifications. And so when people come in, they look at you and they think externally like, there's no way you could have any issues. Like, you're out here living the best life.
I mean, I would agree to a certain extent. My life is, I would like to lead it with gratitude. So I am thankful for all the opportunities that I have had. And, like you said, my place is pretty dope. It is. But I would say that concept of being single in Chicago is complex. It's complex because it really is going to depend on whatever season we in. It's the summertime now, so that complexity is not as much. I mean, because, you have individuals who are out and about. I am more so of an introvert, so I do kind of like to stay home and kind of like to do chill activities, so I'm not really privy to the city lifestyle when it comes to going to parties, because I'm not doing that.
Right.
It's a little bit too dangerous. But I would say that it is complicated. It is complicated for a single woman, especially when you not only tie in single, but a career-driven woman. Because then that's going to cancel out so many people when you're trying to meet someone on your level or above it. So
but when you say it's complex, so what? I mean, like, complex, like how?
When I'm saying
like for you, how's it complex for you?
When I'm saying complex, again, speaking on me, it's more so about identifying someone who is a match. That's the complexity, because you want to be that ride or die. You want to accept a person for who they are and identify, okay, they got potential. You want to be that girl that's that ride or die. But at the other end, you want to be that woman that's like, I want to meet someone that's my match. And I think that's more so really the space that I'm in on why I'm choosing to be single. It's that concept of meeting someone that's your match. I feel like a lot of times in Chicago, it's that hookup. At least from my experience, it's that hookup culture that you have to combat. And if you combat it, then you're going to, of course, be single. But at the same time, it's limited. The options are limited when you're trying to meet someone at your level or above. And I would say, at least from my experience, that's where the complications come in. Like, do you lower your expectations? Are your expectations too high?
And see, for me, it's different.
Why you say that?
For me, it's different because I'm not looking to be in a relationship. And I am a single mother of one. And yes, career driven. We're both career driven. But mine is more so mental, emotional, right? And that is something that we was also touching on as well. When you are single and you have, your days where you need to let it out. Like, it has, that day mentally exhausted you. Especially those that is in a career, that's in a career field. Racism, discrimination in the workplace is real, right? So you're experiencing that. What a lot of people don't tell you is, especially for women of color, when you climb up that ladder, you would be surprised how people in your workplace who you probably was social with and different things like that, how they will switch, on you. And so you have to deal with the politics, of work and just in the culture we live in right now, society and, and just everything that comes with living in a big city. Mm-hmm. So you have all of that, right, and everything, and you trying to find some type of happiness. Sometimes it can be hard. It can really be hard, and it can affect you mentally and emotionally. Now, in my case, I do have a distraction, which is my child, right? Mm-hmm. She keeps me busy, more busier than I care to be. So that is a nice distraction. But for you don't have kids. It's just you. I mean, you're a dog mom. You have your baby, but is that a challenge for you, though, to, like, really be able to mentally, like, stabilize yourself? Or let's, like, when you're having, like, a hard day, a mentally challenged day or emotionally challenged day, like, how do you pick yourself up? How do you self-motivate and regulate yourself? Like, how do you get out of that? Because you don't have anything helping you get out of that. I mean, except for your social circle, but we're not here. When we get off the phone with each other, you still here.
And that's a really good question. Just on the notion of, you're right. Like, no one speaks about the difficulties that comes with staying alone. Like, everyone, typically to a certain extent, they strive for that. You leaving your parents' house, you don't left your girl house, you don't left your dude house, whatever. Mm-hmm. And you strive for living alone. And it's beautiful in it. I mean, again, you come home, the house was exactly how you left it. So it is beauty in it. But when I was just speaking about the concept of being single in Chicago has its complications, specifically with me, it is that complication that when you do have a long day in trust and education, it seems like every fucking day is long. I don't know if I'm supposed to curse.
No, you wasn't, but that's okay.
My apologies.
It's okay. Go on.
But
it makes it more real.
It definitely make you feel like every single day is tough. And like you said, I'm fortunate to have a circle. My social circle is strong, I would say that. And my girlfriends always make sure they come towards and support me. So they, I'm thankful for them. And being out of a relationship, because of course I, got out of a relationship, you can't call on that person. You don't want to relive and bring up any old, like, problematic habits by by going to your ex when you have a difficult time. So then you're forced to deal with it. Because at the end of the day, like you said, once my friends are off the phone, it's just me and my dog. Or my dog and I. And so with that being said, I had to be very creative and intentional on developing ways for me to rebuild myself or for me to pour into myself when I'm feeling a little bit of empty or drained. And
how do you do that? Can you give us, like, your top 3 or your top 5 things that, like, you do? Like, what are some things that you do? Because that has to be difficult, like, to build yourself up like that. especially like even if you go do it with depression or something, like you are responsible for getting your own self out of it. Like what? Just five top things that you do.
Okay, and that's a really good point. Because like I said, it is difficult, and I never want to say that I do it with ease. I mean, I have a multitude of different nights where I'm just ending the night with crying, and my dog is right there.
So you have a social emotional pet?
I do.
That's
I do
one.
have a social emotional pet.
Okay.
That's one. I would say the second thing I do is I engage in working out as a stress reliever. And that is, I don't do it just to try to keep up the physical health, which is important. That is. But for me, it's a
release.
It's a release. It's a mental release. It's a stress relief to be able to work your body out in those particular ways. And so working out is definitely one. And I do want to retract, because I would say my dog is not necessarily an emotional dog. He's beautiful. He's amazing. I do love him. But I didn't buy him with that purpose. And so that's not the purpose he kind of holds. He holds he kind of like my little son. I like to think that.
Yeah,
so
but he's still social emotional. Absolutely, he's an SEL support. Absolutely, he is. When you crying, you stated that you rub up on him. Right, different things like that. They do release a level of comfort for us because they're non-judgmental. They're gonna love us unconditionally.
You're right about that.
Yes.
So, cool. Let's keep that. See, on the School of You learn new things as well.
Sure.
So I would say, just like you just said.
So you got your social emotional dog. You got your exercising, and what else?
I also am really big on creating the vibe I want in the beginning of the day. So how I do that is, as I'm getting ready to leave out my apartment, I make sure I write a positive note to myself. And I put it inside a jar. And the goal of that is, as I'm writing notes every single day, even if I have a difficult moment, say I come home and it's about 7 o'clock and I cannot get my girlfriends on the phone and I'm having difficulties, that jar of me writing that positive note every single day is there for me to be able to be like, okay, let me get up and pour a positive note out of that jar. And that helps me pour back into myself, because every note I write to myself in the morning is intended to boost my spirits. It's intended to remind me of how powerful I am, of how great I am, of how dope I am. And so those notes are impactful. So I would say that's the
you write a note every morning. So you don't pull from the jar, you write the note, and then when you are going through something, so it could be 30 days from now. So that means you got 30 notes in that jar. But let's say on the 30th or 31st day, that's when you going through something that's when you need a little more inspiration, a little more motivation for the day, encouragement, and then you pour from. Do you pour just one, or do you pour as many as you need?
It depends. It depends on what space I'm in, but it is definitely there to uplift me. So if I need to pour all 30 of them out in order to feel uplifted, I will, and then the next day I start all over again.
I love that.
So it's intended to be there for me to remind myself of my greatness, because when you stay alone and when you have engaged in the complexities of dating in Chicago, sometimes it can definitely be just draining. It can pour out of you. Just meeting new people and then really seeing the space that they're in. I told you about time I met someone and they tried to move in.
Yes.
It could be. And I tried to move in maybe I think the second day. So it was like, what is going on?
Yes. I remember when you told me before I moved over here, you was like, Tasha, a lot of times they come over here to our neighborhood to seek out people that live here. Women that live here, so they can try to move in with them. And it was shocking to witness it. It was shocking to even someone attempting to do it, and you just like, wow.
So that's why that jar is there. It's to remind me of my greatness. Remind me of my worth. And I love that, of my worth. It reminds me of where I'm going.
Yes.
In the midst of things, you can't forget. So I would say that's 3. You said the support dog, working out, positive notes. I have tried to, I have mastered the ability to, whenever my mind is clouded with thoughts, or whenever my mind is scattered and I'm having difficulties making a decision, I write down all my thoughts. I write down all my thoughts.
In a journal?
In the journal, yeah, in the journal. And sometimes, if I am really having a difficult moment, and I think I expressed this to you earlier, if I'm having a difficult moment, I will ensure to write down all the negative things that I was hearing at that moment. Maybe it's coming from family, maybe it's coming from exes, maybe it's coming from friends, or whatever it is, whatever negative thoughts. Maybe it's me thinking it, because sometimes we can be our own enemy sometimes. I write all of that down, and then, like I told you, I will go outside and just burn it. And it's something about that process of releasing that negative energy outside of your household is just so powerful to me. It's so
yes,
powerful.
I love that.
It is. And so I would say that's another thing I do. So,
and how often do you do that?
I try to do it once a week, to be honest.
Once a week.
I try to make it part of my Sunday routine for me to refresh myself for the upcoming week, leave all those negativities. But something just transpired today, so I really feel like I'm going to end up doing it prior to going to bed.
But that sounds powerful. That sounds powerful.
So that's what,
when you say it releases that energy that you don't want. Mm-hmm. What's the last one?
The last one I would say is reading a book. I do love engaging in reading. You already, talked about me being an educator. And taking the time to read a novel and taking the time to engage in reading as a pleasure has been really powerful because as a teacher, I have to read the books for my students, but having an opportunity to read just for pleasure is beautiful. And so I would say my fifth one is falling in love with reading. And, identifying a book that you just really genuinely love. And
Tell me what book you recommend right
now. So it's a couple of books that I'm trying to make sure I finish. But one that I would say I would recommend is one that I am making sure I finish because it's one of my favorites. I started I'm page 10. Is the Cicely Tyson book, Just As I Am. I got that as a birthday gift before. I had it for a minute, but I haven't been able to finish and allocate time for it. So that's one of the on my to-do list.
I love that. Cicely Tyson. May she rest in peace.
Just
as I am.
Beautiful.
Okay, that's a good recommendation.
And I'm gonna add a sixth one because I just started doing this. I'm gonna say find a hobby that you would like to engage in. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's that concept of, single can be a lot. You going on dating, the dates might be terrible. Or you might like someone and then they might not like you back. Or you might fall in love, whatever it may be. But that concept of being single, you don't want to take that away from you still engaging in things that you love and just want to explore. I feel like as we get older, we tend to get stuck in our ways. We tend to get complacent. And so I would say, find a new hobby. That would be my sixth and final one. Find a new hobby. Find something you like. Or something you just want to explore. And explore that.
Or something?
It's not so much as an app. I would say there are different sources you can use. I do use, of course, I look up different things to determine what's going on in Chicago. But I do have this app that I use to try to figure out what's going on in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And it's called the Fever app. It's Fever.
How you spell it?
Fever. So shout out to the Fever app. You can put your location in there with your zip code and it'll tell you everything that's going on in your surroundings. So I would say do that. Because of that Fever app, I fell in love with planting. And so that's kind of my hobby of watching something grow. And, it speaks to my growth. So identifying a hobby, that would be my sixth one.
Oh, I love that, kid.
Yeah.
I love that.
Trying to get that green thumb, get that plant life.
That serenity in your life.
Yeah, so I would say it's like we started off, single is complicated being in Chicago, but at the end of the day, it's not the end all be all. T done told me something, a quote that I consistently remember is that concept of when you single, you're not, what is it again? Just because you're single don't mean you...
Just because you're alone doesn't mean you're lonely.
Yeah, that's powerful. Just because you're alone doesn't mean you're lonely. I do think more and more people have to fall in love with themselves. Fall in love with being with themselves. And that's the kind of the space I'm in right now. So while it is, as I stated before, complicated, it's something I love. You know what I'm saying? I'm loving the journey right now. Me finding innovative ways to love me and restore me.
And I love that because all of us need advice. All of us need to be repaired at some point. All of us have room to grow. And so I love that my friend Kiara was able to come on my podcast and be my guest, so it didn't look like that I was being a liar, and sharing her wealth of knowledge about being single in one of the biggest cities out here. And so with that, my loves, I really want to thank you guys for joining us today. I hope you got everything that you needed from this podcast. It was amazing discussing our thoughts with you. And don't forget to tune in to the School of You podcast every Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, where you're going to partake in riveting discussions with me and a surprise guest. Today you met my friend Kiara. Next time it will be someone else. You just have to stay tuned to hear it, my loves. So you all have a blessed and stress-free day. Love you. Mwah.